is Jenny, and I'm a wife and mom raising 2 kids. But I used to live a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I said goodbye to TV and hello to motherhood, I suddenly discovered what we moms are up against. We live in a world that tells us to be rich and famous, thin and successful. You know, almost nobody says, "Oh, hey, you're a mom? That's fabulous." But you are fabulous, and I'm here to tell you why.
It's the Channelmom Show, celebrating you with Jenny Dean Schmidt.
Well, welcome back to the Channelmom Show. This is a show for moms because moms need their own show, frankly. We are celebrating you at the Channelmom Show on Mile High Sports Radio, AM 1510, FM 93.7. We are Mile High Sports Radio. We really are so pleased to be on this station. I am your host, Jenny Dean Schmidt. Now, I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to let Robin know that you're here too, Jamie, so that you can ask a question. Robin Dance, and she's going to be modest when I say all these things, but it's the truth. She is the brilliant mom who blogs on the website pensive.me. You know, instead of .com, it's pensive.me. But
I like it.
Yeah, but the blog site is called Pensive, and her little slug at the bottom of it is magically delicious. She's very whimsical, and I love that about her. Far more whimsical than I am. So if you are a mom who searched blogs or has a blog of your own, you may know Robin, or you may want to know her. Robin describes herself, and this is the way she does it on her own blog, as a mom savant, steel magnolia, optimistic realist, frequent laugher, photographer in training, poet warrior, killer cook. I am not a killer cook, by the way. Lucid dreamer, Jesus freak, ellipsis abuser, beach lover, lousy ironer, however you say that, and says her dream job, and I don't even know what this is OPI color namer. Wow. Welcome, Robin. Tell us what an OPI color namer is, please.
OPI is a brand of nail polish that is fabulous.
Oh, I know it. I know it now.
The
Very
colors
good,
are like,
yes.
I'm not really a waitress. And that's a bright red. It's awesome. So you need to look into this. What's wrong with you?
Oh, that's great.
Okay, I know it now because my daughter has a bottle of it, now that I'm thinking about it. I think, we do have one bottle of it, Georgia. My daughter's here today. Robin, we have tons of people in the studio today. We do have our guest mom host today, Jamie Durbin, so I'm going to allow her to ask you some questions too, all right?
Sounds great.
Okay, so you got this blog, and you're pretty open and honest about it. In fact, that's your thing. You really feel strongly about saying, I'm going to let it all hang out and be real. In fact, to the point where you've admitted to me that your husband has had to say, maybe you shouldn't let so much hang out.
I've learned through the years.
Right, and my husband has to say that to me about the radio show sometimes too. So let me just start with something that'll just catch people's attention. I knew I loved you when I tuned in, and one of your blog titles was something about forget loving your children equally. You know, just forget about it. And I'm sure a lot of moms are like, what? Of course I love my children equally. So tell us what you meant in that forget trying to love your children equally.
Well, I'll be honest. This was not an original idea of mine.
Okay.
It was actually in a conversation with my in-laws, and I was offended when I first heard that statement, and they were saying that in reference to their 9 grandchildren at the time. But over time, I began to see the wisdom and the brilliance of it because your children are different. Every individual is different. It is an impossibility, unrealistic expectation to think that you can treat each person the same way in every circumstance.
Right.
So don't strive for that. Instead, look for the differences in your children and love them according to how they need you to love them, according to the dynamic of that relationship, because it's a specific dynamic unique to each child. And so there's a lot of freedom in that. There's liberty in that. You begin to see that it is realistic, and that how one child responds to you in a certain measure of discipline or conversation, it's not going to work for another. And so you've got to understand what motivates your kids. It's going to be a different motivation, and your relationship will thrive, I think, as you begin to have that freedom, not to feel like you've got to balance this love thing, but to do it according to the need of your child.
Right, because I think we can feel guilty, like, oh gosh, maybe I do more for this child than that child, but they need different things. And
exactly.
You know, Jamie has 4 children, and you have 3, right?
Right.
And Jamie was talking about what she finally had to do with her teenagers when she looked at them. Tell Robin about that, and about just having to look at them and say, you're not who I expected you to be, but.
It's absolutely true. You expect them to be this ideal that you've dreamed up in your head, and then they wind up being themselves, and just realizing that I had to really take them at face value for who they were and accept them for who they were instead of trying to make them into who I thought they should be.
Yeah. And one of the tricks I use, Robin, is I'll step away and I'll say, I wonder what it feels like to be them. So as I'm sort of, ranting or something or correcting, I think, I wonder what it feels like to be them sitting on the couch right now looking at me. How about I just honor who they are and who God made them to be?
And that is so much easier said than done, but there's such wisdom in understanding that you can try to make them into this creation of your imagination or your ideal, but it's not going to work. And so you're just fighting upstream, and there's a lot of wisdom from the two of you in that. I agree with you.
Oh, thank you. That was well said. You are supposed to call us wise on this show, so thanks so much for that. Tell us another one, which I think moms are going to really want to hear this one. You talk about how do you get what you want from your husband? And it's all about the timing. And I've been married 22 years, and I have learned that the hard way. But tell moms that are married or are about to be married what that means, how to get what you want from your husband.
Well, for me, and we're going to celebrate our 24th on Monday. So
congratulations.
I'm excited about that. We're very married, 2 years more married than you, Jenny. What I mean by that is there is such wisdom in knowing when to ask or when to get something out of your husband that you need. When he walks in the door from work and you have had a horrible day and everything has gone wrong, and yet there's something that you need or want, that's not the time to tell him about it. That's not the time. And I'm not talking in terms of seeking permission, not that kind of thing, but if there's something that you have in mind, you need to understand his temperament, understand what he's gone through, and then choose your time wisely. It's hard for a woman, or it's hard for me to exercise restraint. And so a lot of mistakes I made early in marriage was just acting on impulse or when I thought about something. And so over time, I've softened, I've mellowed with age. I've realized that I go a lot further in getting what I want when I choose my timing well. Same thing with your kids. They are living hard lives during the day, especially teenagers. I think there are a lot of influences. If they're in school, they're being bombarded by their friends, by their teachers. It's not all good. And so if you want to pull something out of one of your kids, if you're looking for a change in behavior or to address a conversation, to fuss at them, if there's something you need to deal with, an issue you need to deal with, if you choose your timing wisely, you're going to have a much better outcome rather than acting on it when they're walking in the door or when they're tired or when they have been not sleeping because they've been studying all night for a test. There's just a lot of wisdom in waiting and exercising restraint. And, you usually get a much better result in what you want in marriage or with your kids or with people in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an enormous amount of discipline. It's almost like planning your workout every day. Like when will that work and when will that fit in? When will that be best for your body? Looking at your children and your husband and thinking the same thing. When will it be best for them to really be able to talk about this without feeling like all you want to do is pull from them and not help them,
I have a question with that, though. So, Robin, I know that we have a ton on our minds all the time. So my issue is I agree with you. You have to have the right timing. But I'll often look at my child or my husband and think, well, I remember to ask you this later or to tell you this later. How do you make sure that you don't forget? That's one of the reasons I want to tell him right when I'm thinking about it,
Well, I guess it depends on the what of it. There's certainly some things that you can, that there's not a choice in that. And so if it's important to me, though, if it's something that I'm thinking about, I'm not going to forget. And so, certainly there's things that you can hit them with, when it pops in your head. But again, the wisdom is just those important things, those things that you really need to discuss, you're going to find the time. And so you just sift through them, and there's the time.
So moms don't, because you look perfect on your website, just so you know. You look perfect. Everything about you, it's so darling. You used to be in marketing, so you know what you're doing. I mean, you just want to sit on your website forever and just have a beautiful cup of coffee with some kind of whip something on it. And you make me feel so Southern when I'm there, even though I'm not a stitch of Southern except for my...
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm so badly want to be a Southern belle. That's why I named my daughter Georgia. So, but tell us about... I read something in your bio where you were doing something for another radio host, Trisha Goyer, and you were saying, I did just have a bad moment. If you'd like me to tell that story, I will on your show. Do you remember what your bad moment was? And if you don't, you can come up with another one.
It was my son. I think I was writing one of my I'm writing a 31-day series, Parenting Teens and Tweens right now. 31 days doesn't mean 31 days in sequence because it's going to take me 60 days to finish it.
Right.
Anyway, I was working on that. I knew that the interview with Trisha Goyer was coming up, and my son asked me if I could quiz him on something, and I said, Stephen, I'm in the middle of something right now. I cannot do that. I think I gave him the speech on you need to choose timing wisely. You know I'm against a deadline. And so, that was what I said to him. Well, then I listened to myself, and I was writing a post about, listening to your children, I think. And so the words started preaching back to me. Well, you know what the kid wanted me to quiz him on?
What?
A Bible verse. He had memorized an entire chapter in Philippians, and he wanted to recite it to me. It was for his, he has a mentor, and he was going to be meeting with him, and he was going to recite it to him. A whole chapter 2. Chapter 2, the kid memorized, and I didn't have time for it. So I felt like the world's biggest loser, and, I stopped what I was doing, I closed the laptop, and I listened to him 3 times.
Oh, good for you.
And so, talk about blowing it. It was the irony of the moment was not wasted on me that, here I am writing about it, and then I did the very things that I said don't do.
Yeah, I hear you. So you are writing this book, and I want people to know about it. So they can go to Pensive, www.pensive.me if they want to find out more. I'm tempted to ask you a question other than that, but you are going to write this book about 31 days toward success of raising teens and tweens, so moms can get that, right?
If you go to my blog, and it's spelled Pensieve, you'll see in the right sidebar at the top of the page, there's a button that will take you to all my posts. I'm going to consolidate those. I'm going to add, take away. I'm going to nurse it a little bit, put it together in an ebook format so it's available for download. It'll be very inexpensive. It's self-publishing. I don't need a publisher. And so, I don't claim to know it all, but I'm a mom with 3 decent teens, 19, 17, 14. I'm going to speak to my experience. If it helps someone else, that's great. I'm not looking to save the world. I don't have all the answers. I'm not always right. This is my experience. If it helps you, fabulous.
Beautiful. All right, about 2 minutes left, and so I want to get to one last thing. I reference faith a lot on this show because it's held me together as a mother. But you are so good about admitting on your website, even though you do call yourself a believer, that you struggle with doubt. And as a mom, you can go to the edge where you just don't have time to seek your faith and to spend time with God and to know Christ better and all of that. And you're so honest. And I love that for moms who are believing or not believing, for a woman like you to say, you know what, I struggle to believe.
Well, I think I don't know if I said this to you or not, Jenny, in previous conversations, but in my 30s, I knew it all. I knew so much. I had all the answers. I was this perfect Christian who on the outside looked perfect. I hit my 40s, and it was almost like a screeching halt where I began to question so much. And initially, there was a lot of guilt related to that, to the questioning. But then I heard a pastor in a sermon one Sunday say, look, if you're asking questions, that is the Lord, that's the Holy Spirit drawing you to Him. Asking questions is not sin. Yeah. And so there was a great freedom, a great release when I heard that. And so I identify so much with it, and this is in the gospel accounts, about the father who says, Lord, I believe, help me in my unbelief. Yeah, and
I say that a lot.
That's almost my mantra. There's a freedom in that, there's an honesty in that, there's a relatability in that, and it allows my questions, my doubt allows me to believe more strongly because I see people in Scripture who've done that. Yeah. Doesn't mean I have to have the perfect faith. All those things that I thought I knew that have gone out the door, somehow my weakness, and I guess it's, it's a paradox. A life of faith is a life of paradox. Yeah. Read the Gospels and everything is upside down. Yeah. And so for me, that has been, to have the liberty and freedom to question, to doubt, has done nothing but strengthen me. And so now I don't know nearly as much as I did 10 years ago. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and that's a good place to land. So thank you, dear, for being with us. We can have you back again sometime, and we wish you well. Thanks so much, Robin.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a blast, Jenny. Y'all have a great day.
You too, dear. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I want to say for the video that I'm wearing my Be Your Own You shirt. A friend of mine developed this line, Be Your Own You, which is on the web, and it's all about helping teen girls with self-esteem. Actually, all girls with self-esteem, which I love. I want to thank you, Jamie. You were absolutely fabulous. Wasn't she fabulous? I wish I could get a round of applause.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jenny. It's been really fun.
It was our pleasure. All right, next week, if you're feeling like just a mom, we've got an author who can empower you. She wrote Motherhood, and she'll help you see your mom career in a whole new way. She also wrote Is There Really Sex After Kids? Okay, enough said. Jill Savage, you need to come listen to her. So please do that. And also, if you open your Sunday morning paper, there's a little magazine called Parade Magazine.
15.
There are editors on to tell us all about some wonderful things that you can do with your kids, delicious things, so on, for Thanksgiving. So thank you, moms. God bless you.
Bye-bye.